Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got a lot of breaking news today. So the first news today is coming from Russia, where we've got news that in 2024, Russia has set a record by moving almost 38 million tons of cargo along the Northern Sea route. So this is a tenfold increase in volumes compared to 2014, where 3.7 million tons were transported via the North Sea route. So, according to the latest statistics, Russia is improving infrastructure, improving reliance on the Northern Sea route, which, if you don't know what the Northern Sea route is, it's here in your bottom left corner. So, Russia is improving and using the North Sea route more often, according to statistics, and it seems that Russia is going to be improving that statistic even more. We've also got news today that Russia is making progress in creating a sixth generation fighter jet. So this was stated by the test pilot and chief pilot of the Sukhoi design of the UAC, Sergei Bodan, has stated. So the test pilot stated that it should have the sixth generation Russian fighter jet should have a power plant with significantly improved characteristics, with very low specific consumption and high thrust, he noted. So we just have to take his word for it. So we don't know if this is actually proven anywhere. We just have to take his word for it. And again, we don't have any date to support this too. So we don't know when this new Russian fighter jet will be released. We've also got news today that Vladimir Putin congratulated Orthodox Christians on Christmas Day. So, as Orthodox Christians and the Russian people and many other nations of the world celebrate Christmas on January the 7th, the Russian President Vladimir Putin visited the Church of St. George, the Victorious, for the service. So, in this church, Putin made a small speech where he stated that during the Christmas season, we feel with all of our heart how important our parental and family traditions handed down from generations to generations are to us, Putin stated in his greetings. So very interesting news. And that's all the news we've gotten from Russia today. And the next news is coming from Ukraine, where we've got news that Zelensky, as we stated yesterday, gave an interview to the American podcaster Lex Friedman, where he made very interesting statements. So we'll just really quickly go over the main points that Volodymyr Zelensky said in this podcast with the American interviewer, podcaster Lex Friedman. So he stated that Ukraine agrees to the cessation of hostilities on condition of supplying weapons to repel future attacks. The resolution of the conflict is possible subject to security guarantees from NATO for the territories controlled by Ukraine. If Ukraine joins NATO, the alliance charter may not apply to the Russian-controlled Ukrainian territories. Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, apologized to Zelensky for Russia's use of Belarusian territory to strike Ukraine. Zelensky offered Trump to give him $300 billion US dollars in Russian assets, which Ukraine could use to buy weapons from the United States. It is inappropriate to talk about elections in Ukraine before the end of the war. All the guarantors of the security of the Budapest Memorial didn't give a damn about Ukraine. So that was basically all the main interesting points that Zelensky made in this in this podcast. So if you actually want to watch that podcast, it'll be linked in the link description. I watched it; it was pretty interesting. So just give it a watch. We've also got some news today that Ukraine will receive another 180,000 35mm ammunition for the Gepard air defense system. This will be financed by Germany and delivered by the German concern Rheinmetall. The 55 Gepard anti-aircraft systems previously transferred by Germany are used as part of air defense system, in particular against enemy drones. So Ukraine will be receiving a lot of ammunition for the Gepard anti-air system, and that's all the news we've gotten from Ukraine today. We've got some news coming from Transnistria, that water and power cuts hit Transnistria amid electricity shortages. This was stated by Newsmaker. So on January the 5th, Villages in Transnistria of Slobazi district lost water due to low pressure in the pipes. Earlier, water was also cut off in parts of the Transpol. So the unrecognized republic is facing ongoing power outages, with local telecoms provider warning of potential disruptions to mobile and internet services. Residents of Transnistria were asked to use internet traffic rationally. Heating issues have forced many to rely on wood burning stoves, leading to tragic accidents since the start of the year. 6 people have suffered carbon monoxide poisoning, with 2 fatalities, according to Transnistria News. So, if you haven't been keeping updated, Ukraine and Russia have agreed to completely cut off gas supplies to Europe. Russian gas supplies to Europe. Well, Russia hasn't agreed to it, but Ukraine has cut off all Russian supply to Europe, forcing Slovakia, Hungary, and Transnistria, Moldova to cut back on electricity and try and find natural gas somewhere else. But obviously, Transnistria is not a recognized country, therefore no one really trades with them. So therefore, Transnistria is now burning wood to try and heat up homes. So I'll keep you updated on the situation in Transnistria. We've also gotten some very interesting news coming from Denmark. So Denmark has changed its royal coat of arms to make the symbol of Greenland and the Faroe Islands more visible. So this comes after the US presidential-elect Donald Trump wanted to buy Greenland again, the Guardian reports. So for 500 years, the Danish royal coat of arms depicted 3 crowns, a symbol of the Kalmar Union between Denmark, Norway and Sweden from 1397 to 1523. But in the updated version of the coat of arms, the crowns were replaced with large images of a polar bear to represent, obviously, Greenland, and a ram to symbolize the Faroe Islands, which is here, I believe, or here. Faroe Islands, yeah, which is a part of Denmark. So the Danish royal house said that the updated coat of arms strengthens the authority of the Commonwealth, and the 3 crowns were removed because they are no longer relevant due to, obviously, Sweden and Norway being its own country now. So, interesting news. And while this is all happening, Donald Trump Jr. is set to visit Greenland, as obviously his dad, Donald Trump, eyes up the territory. So the president-elect's son will head a delegation to visit the enormous territory of Greenland, as his father continues pushing his desire to obviously make Greenland the 51st state of America. So, according to Donald Trump, that he posted on X and social media, he stated that, "I'm hearing that the people of Greenland are MAGA," which I don't really know what that means. "My son, Don Jr., and various representatives will be traveling there to visit some of the most magnificent areas and sites. Greenland is an incredible place, and the people will benefit tremendously if and when it becomes a part of our nation. We will protect it and cherish it from a very vicious outside world. Make Greenland great again." So obviously he's Donald Trump is putting his whole cards on the table here. So he's not keeping quiet. So maybe in the near future, Greenland will become the 51st state of America, which Denmark seems to be overwhelmingly against, clearly. And the next news we have received today is coming from France. So we've got news that French farmers, dissatisfied with the government's agricultural policies, have decided to block a highway leading to the border with Spain near Paris. BFM TV has reported. So French farmers have actually blockaded a highway leading to Spain. So maybe this exact one that leads to maybe the A10 road highway that leads all the way to Spain. So French farmers have completely blockaded this highway. So Paris authorities had previously banned unauthorized mass gatherings in the city after the Uncultural Union Royal Coordination called on farmers to blockade Paris on January the 5th and demanded a meeting with the Prime Minister of France and the Agricultural Minister, Annie Gainvard. So, French farmers are currently protesting and blocking highways linking Paris to Spain up. I'll keep you updated if there's any new news on that. And the next news we've gotten today is coming from the UK. We've got news that the United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to meet Donald Trump in Washington in the first weeks after his inauguration to persuade him to provide military aid to Ukraine. This was reported by the Sunday Times. So we can expect, I believe, on the 20th of January, Donald Trump becomes president in his inauguration. We can expect maybe 2 weeks or maybe a week after that, the British Prime Minister rocking up into the visiting Washington to persuade Donald Trump to keep supporting Ukraine. And the next news today, which I did not expect I was going to be receiving today, is that Andrew Tate vows to step into the UK Prime Minister role as polls predict Keir Starmer's downfall within a year. So that's right, Andrew Tate is actually running as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. He says that he's 100% serious and he is now in the next election in the United Kingdom. So, Andrew Tate is promising harsh migration control, and his party is called the Bruv Party. So he's promising harsh migration controls. So Britain, he said that Britain's going to be restoring his underlying values under his leadership. So Andrew Tate launches the Bruv Party to become the UK Prime Minister. So myself, as a citizen of the United Kingdom, I was born there, I was raised there. I'm very interested how this goes. So who knows? I might have to fly back there and vote in the next election. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We've got some news coming from Turkey. That Turkey is ready to pump Europe with gas. So Turkey is ready to supply up to 10 billion cubic meters of natural gas per year to the EU countries. So this was stated by the head of the Turkish Ministry of the Energy. So he stated that if Europe shows commitment to obligations and invests into interconnectors, we will be able to export up to 10 billion cubic meters of gas annually to Central and Eastern Europe via the Trans-Balkan pipeline. So Turkey is now offering to supply Europe with natural gas after obviously Russian gas has completely been halted to Europe. Let's now talk about Iran. We got news that Iran is preparing for a large-scale military maneuvers. So Iran has, Iran has launched a huge-scale military exercise. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see lots of videos that are being published. So Iran has launched the 19th Great Prophet military exercise, which begun on Saturday, January the 4th in Iran's western region, which I've highlighted here on the map, and will continue until January the 9th. So this military exercise is part of a series of exercises of the Armed Forces Authority. So here, what I've highlighted in orange, kind of reddish color, is the places where Iran is doing its military exercises. So Iranian state media released photos of air defense systems being tested during this military exercises of the Great Prophet 19 military drill. Reports are suggesting that the exercise included simulating air defense over the Nastan nuclear facilities. We've also got news that Iran also unveiled a new surface-to-air missile called the 358 during the military exercises. So very interesting news. So Iran launches a huge military exercise in western Iran. We've got some news coming from Syria today that Hungary becomes one of the first EU states to reopen its embassy in Damascus, the capital city of Syria, following the restart of diplomatic missions with the new Syrian leadership. EU countries shut down their embassies for more than a decade during Assad al-Bashar's rule in Syria, but he's been overthrown. We've also got news today that the first first Saudi humanitarian aid convoy has arrived at the Nasib border crossing between Jordan and Syria. So I'll just add that on the map really quickly. Nasab, village of Syria. Let's see if this is it. So the first Saudi convoys are going into this this checkpoint here, the border crossing here. So Saudi Arabia is sending the first truck humanitarian aid to Syria on this exact border crossing here. We've also got on news that the German aid to Syria under the new government depends on women's rights being respected. So this was stated by the German foreign minister. So the German foreign minister stated that the EU will not send money to an Islamist structures. The country's foreign minister, Germany, stated. So in order for Syria to get money from the EU and aid from Syria, from at least from Western Europe, it needs to, I quote, respect women's rights and allow women in government positions. And the next news we have received today is coming from the Taros military port. So this was a former Russian naval base. So we got news that a large landing ship of the Russian Navy called the Alexander Shabalin has been spotted loading cargo in Tartus, this former Russian naval base. So we've got news that the Russian Alexander Shabalin a naval ship has been reported loading cargo. So obviously this is probably the Russian military evacuating its equipment from Syria and relocating it maybe back to Russia, or maybe making a new military base in maybe Libya. We've got news that in the next 24 hours, talks are going to resume on Gaza ceasefire and the release of hostages held by Hamas. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel's office advisor, has stated. We've also got news that Hamas has provided a list of 34 hostages that it is willing to release as part of its potential ceasefire agreement with Israel. The list includes 10 women, 11 elderly men, aged 50 to 85, and young children previously reported killed in an an Israeli airstrike. The ceasefire negotiations resumed in Doha, the capital city of Qatar, over the weekend, but no significant progress has been made at this very moment. A Hamas official stated that any agreement to return Israeli hostages would depend on Israel's withdrawal from Gaza and a permanent ceasefire. So, in order for Hamas is saying that they're going to return the hostages, in return, Israel must leave Gaza. So I don't think that might happen anytime soon. So I'll keep you updated on that. And according to the TML news agency, an estimate is remaining that 40% of Hamas tunnels still remains after more than a year of war in Gaza. And the next news we've gotten today is coming from Saudi Arabia, coming from the holy cities of Saudi Arabia. So we've got news that the Saudi Arabian departments have declared a red alert from cities of Mecca, Medina, and the port city of Jeddah. Media reports report. So the media reports that huge towns and districts within these huge cities in Saudi Arabia have been flooded. So if you can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see videos of huge floods and huge districts being flooded in Saudi Arabia, in these holy cities of Saudi Arabia here. The next news we have received today is coming from Yemen. So we've got news that Yemen has announced targeting of 3 Israeli military sites in Tel Aviv. And we've also got news today that the Houthis, the Yemeni Houthis, have also announced that they targeted the USS Harry Truman aircraft carrier in the Red Sea. So the aircraft carrier in the Red Sea, the USS Harry Truman aircraft carrier, was targeted by Houthi missiles, but we've got no reports of the status of the American aircraft carrier. All we've got on news today is that the Yemeni Houthis have tried to at least target the aircraft carrier of the United States in the Red Sea. We've also got news today that the Sudanese leader, General Abdel Fattah has accepted Turkey's mediation offer to resolve the ongoing conflict in Sudan. So the Turkish initiative aims to provide dialogue between the army and the rapid support forces called the RSF forces for a peaceful resolution. So Turkey has launched this initiative following the mediation efforts led by the United States and Saudi Arabia that failed to end the conflict in Sudan. As a regional power, Turkey hopes to play an important role in facilitating negotiations and promoting peace in Sudan. So Turkey is now taking off the tough task on trying to promote peace in Sudan between two major sides, and a huge civil war that's been roaring in Sudan for quite a while now. The next news we have received today is coming from Indonesia. So the world's fourth most populated country has joined BRICS. Indonesia has officially became a full-fledged member of the BRICS Corporation, the economic corporation. Brazil has announced this. The next news we've gotten today is coming from China. That's China kicks off 2025 with a stunning Shenzhen 25 satellite night launch to test in-orbit refueling. So the mission is apparently due to test prolonging the lifespan of satellites in orbit. Beijing is reportedly planning to launch more than 10 Long March 3 series rockets across 2025, and it aims to hit 100 total launch attempts this year. And one of the probably biggest natural disaster news is coming from China also today, coming from Tibet. So a huge 6.8 magnitude earthquake has hit Chinese region of Tibet. So we've got a news that this huge earthquake hit Tibet and has caused the death toll in Tibet to rise to 95 people, with 130 people seriously in serious condition. So we can see these videos here. We can see the footage of this huge 6.8 magnitude earthquake hit the Chinese region of Tibet. So very sad news coming from there. We've also got news coming from North Korea. That North Korea's newest hypersonic missile extends speed of sound by 12 times. So North Korea has unveiled its newest hypersonic missile that allegedly exceeds speed of sound by 12 times. It was launched on January the 6th. The missile also reached a maximum altitude of 99.8 kilometers, accurately hitting a target area in open waters, a distance of 1,500 kilometers from the launch site, the North Korean reports are stating. So North Korea has repeatedly explained that nuclear forces and ballistic missiles are a safeguard of the country's sovereignty in hostile geopolitical situations, especially given the US plans to establish an Asian NATO in the region, reports North Korea. So the next news coming today is coming from Taiwan. We've got news that Taiwan activates its HIMARS systems after receiving 11 units from the United States. So this marks the initial phase of a 29-unit procurement, with the remaining 18 set for delivery by 2026. So the package also includes 64 Army tactical missile systems for the ATACMS. So HIMARS are renowned for their mobility and precision, and they can launch rockets with a 70-kilometer range, and the ATACMS missiles are capable of hitting targets up to 300 kilometers away. And probably one of the biggest news today is coming from Canada. We've got news that the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau resigns after 9 years in power. So Justin Trudeau resigns as the Liberal Party leader. Trudeau says that he will resign as the Canadian Prime Minister as soon as a new leader of the ruling Liberal Party is elected. So Trudeau, who led the Liberal Party for 11 years, made this announcement as his popularity in the country nearly hit rock bottom. He has also been facing pressure to step down as the Prime Minister following the December 16th resignation of the Finance Minister, and also a non-confidence vote that was going to be happening on January the 7th. So Canada, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has stepped down as the Prime Minister of Canada. And the last news we've got on today is kind of again from Canada, but it's come from some statements from the president-elect Donald Trump. So, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, following the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's resignation, has made very interesting news on X. So he stated that many people in Canada love being the 51st state. The United States can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits that Canada needs to stay afloat. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned. If Canada merged with the United States, there would be no tariffs. Taxes would go way down, and they would be totally secure from the threats of Russian and Chinese ships that constantly surround them. Together, what a great nation it would be. So again, not only President-elect Donald Trump is advocating for Greenland to join the United States, and also Canada. So this is right after Canada, Justin Trudeau announced his resignation. So that's all the news I've gotten today on Nonsense News. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world will not provide you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.